Why does the phrase, a woman should submit to a man, trigger women so bad? In this episode, we are going to dive into pre programming, vicious cycles around relationships, and 10 traits of a high value man and a high value woman. Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, where we are inspiring you to ditch the outdated beliefs, release the blocks, and fully embrace your sovereignty so you can confidently expand to allow more love, joy, and aligned success in your life. I am Niajae, your conscious accountability partner, reminding you that abundance is your birthright. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? If you're joining me for the first time, although M&Ms are really yummy candies, it actually stands for magical manifestors because we are manifesting by default, depending upon what is going on energetically, mentally, subconsciously, we are creating our reality. And if you are listening to this podcast, it means that you want to create a reality of abundance in love and joy and passion and excitement and all of the yummy things. So, this episode, we're actually going to talk about pre programming. Typically, I do an interview and a solo episode, interview, solo episode. But the last episode had me so fired up on this topic. And through a process that I'll get to in a second, I felt really strongly about addressing this. So, my last podcast episode, I talked about honoring your needs and honoring what you truly need and not just on the surface, because we're programmed to suppress our needs, specifically women saying, I don't need a man, I don't need love, men saying, I don't need a relationship. Like, we are built for connection. So I was having a conversation about this topic with a colleague who introduced me to Kevin Samuels. Now, Kevin Samuels is a Black man who does relationship coaching, but he has a lot of YouTube videos where he's addressing a lot of the issues that present themselves in a relationship, typically with Black women. So I don't necessarily care for his approach. It's savage, completely savage. However, there's a lot of validity in what he's saying. And as a Black woman, I felt called to address this because, one, I'm a Black woman. And two, I've had to work through releasing a lot of this programming. And what I do on this podcast is I share my experience so other people know that they're not alone and other people can learn and grow from it as well. So I just want to have a trigger warning. This is going to challenge what a lot of women are taught, but I am here to dismantle the generational patterns that are preventing us from living abundant lives and having those blissful, abundant relationships. So, wherever you are, go ahead and grab some tea, grab some wine, grab some popcorn, whatever you need to do, because we are going to dive in. I have a lot of notes because I have a lot I want to say on this topic. Are you ready? And let me just say that none of this is intended to offend anyone. And we're definitely not victims. I do not subscribe to a victim mentality. But as a Black woman that was raised by a single Black mom and a grandmother who, when my grandmother passed, she wasn't in a relationship. When my great grandmother passed, she wasn't in a relationship. So these are generational patterns that have been passed down. And I made the decision, it stops with me. It stops with me. I'm not passing it down to my daughter, and I'm not going to allow her to pass it down to her daughter. It stops with me. We heal, so we heal the generations after us and before us. Okay, let's dive in. So, Kevin Samuels, he is a trip, but he has a lot of valid points. The videos that I've listened to, he doesn't offer solutions. So I'm here with solutions, and I'm here with, like, okay, let's address the problem. Let's take a look at the vicious cycle and let's talk about the solutions. I'm all about solutions. So it's not about calling people out on their stuff if you're not providing a solution. And also, this is not about religion. So I'm not going to engage in any religious conversation. So talking about the Bible says a woman should do blah, blah, blah. I'm not engaging in any religious conversation. So if you want to speak on it, I'm not engaging in any religious conversation. I feel like I have to say that multiple times because I know that will be a discussion. Some people are like, the Bible says whatever. I'm not talking about the Bible. I am specifically talking about the trigger of when women hear a woman should submit, it literally makes their blood boil. There are some women that get so frustrated. I refuse to submit. So let's dive into this. Like, why is it a trigger? Why? So if you look up the official definition of submit, it's accept or yield to a superior force, to the authority or will of another person. So if you have a man that you are madly in love with and you're starting a family together or building a home together, and you want this man to provide and protect the household, what is wrong with accepting or yielding to the man being the authority in the house? You want the man to provide and protect, right? So accepting and allowing him to be the man of the house. So that, to me, like if you just put it simply like that, I don't understand why that's triggering for women other than we were taught differently. We were taught and programmed differently. I was taught to never depend on a man. I was taught to always have your own, never depend on a man. So saying submit and allowing the man to have control is going against what we were taught growing up. And typically, when I say we, this is generally women are taught this way, specifically Black women. So what I think it is women don't want to give up control because they're afraid the man will not hold up his end of the bargain in providing and protecting. So they feel as though they have to handle things on their own, become educated, become successful, start businesses so they can provide the life that they desire for themselves because they don't trust men to do it for them. Although they want the man to do it for them, they don't trust the man to do it for them. So with the whole independent women movement, most women have started saying, I don't need a man. And this speaks to my previous episode where I say, if you don't receive what you want or desire, if your need isn't being met, you convince yourself that you don't actually need it. So rather than the pain of not having it, you numb out that pain and convince yourself you don't want or need it. And so for the sake of semantics, I'm going to say women don't need a man in the sense that a lot of people are saying it, but let me be clear. They don't need a man in the sense of like women can provide, women can get jobs, women can run businesses and build empires and do all of the things. They're capable, but they do need men to reproduce and to love us. We need men to love us, and men need women to love them. We are built for connection. We are built for love. That is our journey in this time, space, and reality to return to love, to be love. We are love. So in my personal opinion, anytime a woman says, I don't need a man, they are disconnected from themselves, from their divine feminine, from why we're here in this time, space, and reality. And same thing for a man. If a man is like, I don't need a relationship, he's disconnected from his divine masculine, because we are built for connection. We're built to be a team, and we're built for love, period. So it's one thing to be self-sufficient while you're finding the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, but if you cannot let that independence go and try to be in a relationship, it's not going to last. It's not going to work. So while you're single, be independent, be a boss, be a boss. But then when you get into a relationship, you have to let that independence go and realize that you're a team. You're a team. And if you don't trust the man to provide and protect, then don't be with him. I mean, it really, and I know that I'm saying it in a simplistic way, and it's easier said than done. But if you don't trust the man to protect and provide, don't be in a relationship with him. Don't start a family with him. It really is that simple. Now, granted, there's some people that ship has sailed and you already did, and now you're in the situation and you can't go back and change it. But what I believe in my heart is that women are afraid to become too dependent or reliant on a man, and he drops the ball. And I have three things here as to why that's challenging. One, you're living in fear. You're living in fear, and there's no way to truly be fulfilled and really have the love and the joy and the abundance and all of the yumminess if you're living in fear and not allowing the abundance into your reality. Not like it's already in your vortex, but you're not allowing it into your reality. Number two is, how can you truly love a man when you don't fully trust him? So you not trusting that he can protect and provide because you have to maintain your independence and not need him means that you don't really trust him, which means that you shouldn't be in a relationship with him. Now, I understand that the trust runs deep. It runs deep because I've had, still working through, trust issues because I didn't have my biological father in my life. I wasn't taught or raised to trust a man. From everything that I saw from my biological father, my grandfather, from my uncles, from my cousins, men were not to be trusted. They were not to be trusted. I did not grow up trusting men, but that showed up in every single relationship. It showed up in every single relationship. How can you truly love a man if you can't fully trust him? We're peeling the layers back. So I would love to hear what you have to say about this. So definitely email me, reach out to me on Instagram, comment if you're watching on YouTube, comment under the video. I want to hear what you have to say, because this is a dialogue that needs to happen, because there's a lot of women that are really not happy and fulfilled, and they're convincing themselves that they are. But if we want to truly be happy and fulfilled, we have to look at our programming, and we have to say it stops with me, and I'm not passing it on to my children so they don't pass it on to their children. So we're peeling the layers back. So number three, as far as like what's wrong with being too, having that fear of being too dependent or reliant on a man, the third problem with that is, if you don't trust him to provide or protect, he'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So law of attraction works in both ways. It works in both ways. So sometimes these beliefs are subconscious. If you think he's going to drop the ball, subconsciously, you're only going to see when he drops the ball. You're not going to see when he actually does a good job if you have that subconscious block. And I talk about subconscious blocks all the time because that is one thing that sound therapy allows you to access, is your subconscious blocks, so you can release the ones that are not serving you, or no blocks are serving you, but it allows you to to access your subconscious beliefs so you can release the ones that are not serving you. So thinking that I have to hold on to my independence because I can't trust him to provide, then you shouldn't be with him. And you're also creating a self-fulfilling prophecy to where he's going to wind up dropping the ball because everything energetically is going to lead towards that. You're only going to see, we see things that validate our beliefs, our subconscious beliefs. So you could on the surface be like, I love him, I love him, I love him. And this works both ways. So the men could be like, I love her, I love her, I love her. And if in the back of his mind, he's thinking she's going to cheat on me, not saying the woman's going to cheat, but he may see something that validates that belief, even if she's not cheating. So with women feeling like he's going to drop the ball on providing or protecting, she's going to see things that validate that subconscious belief. And then her energy towards him and reactions towards him are going to change. And that is going to create resentment in the relationship. So rather than taking a risk on a man, a lot of women have just accepted they're just going to take care of themselves. They're going to go out and have this successful career and give themselves the life that they desire. And so a lot of women are ending up alone. They're ending up alone. Successful, amazing women are ending up alone. You have no idea how many successful women are like, I don't understand. Or they've just accepted that I'm just going to be single and that's it. And here's what I want to say. It's not your fault. We're taught and programmed to never depend on a man and always have our own. We're taught to distrust. We weren't taught to trust. We weren't taught to build together. We're programmed to build individually. And we're programmed to believe that, well, if I get into a relationship, I have to give up my career. We're programmed to believe this. So we're guarding ourselves, but we're keeping the love out that we're craving. We're keeping the love out that we desire. And it's not your fault because we weren't taught how to be in healthy relationships. And I'm generally speaking, if you were raised with your mom and dad and they're still married, then come on this show and give some tips. Because, for me, like I said, I was raised by a single mom. My mom has been married 3 times and none of them were to my biological father. She's married now, but she was married 2 times prior, none of them to my biological father. So I didn't have an example of a healthy relationship. And it's not my fault that I went through, crappy dating for most of my adult life. It's not our fault, but it is our responsibility to heal, release the pre-programming that's not serving us, and adapt a paradigm that is serving us. So if you have a trigger, if someone says submit to a man and that triggers you, then there's some pre-programming there that like in generational. So it's probably not yours, but it's generational. What you were taught that has to be healed and released so you can be in a relationship where you trust your man fully. And if you can't trust him fully, don't be with him. Seriously. Let me get to my notes because I literally have so many notes because I want to stay on topic and I want to make sure that I touch on everything. So, like I said, breaking that generational pattern. Now, it may seem unfair. It may be like, oh, why do I have to break the generational pattern? And it may seem like a heavy weight to carry. But if you want a shot at true fulfillment and bliss, you have to do the work. If you want your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren to also have fulfilling, loving, healthy, blissful relationships, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. And society has literally done so good at having us convince ourselves that we don't need love and connection. And it's a defense mechanism because we don't want to be hurt. We don't want to be disappointed. No one wants to be hurt or disappointed. So people will literally rather die alone than risk opening up their hearts. They will literally rather just say, "No, I don't need it. I don't need it." And like just die alone. And so I would never say die alone, but this is what Kevin says. Now, mind you, he's savage. So forgive the savageness, but I have been binging him for the last 48 hours. But he basically tells women it's savage, but he's like, you're going to die alone. You're going to get a dog and you're going to die alone. Like, it's savage. So I'm not saying that you're going to die alone. I'm saying people will literally rather die alone than open their heart and risk being hurt or disappointed. And I'm saying that we are built for love and connection. And you can do everything in your power to convince yourself that you don't need a relationship, but everyone needs a relationship and connection. Everyone does. And I think we live in a society that's numbing. We're numbing how we truly feel. We're numbing and suppressing our desires and our needs. That's what the whole last podcast episode was about, honoring your needs and not suppressing them and denying them. So if you didn't check out the last episode, definitely go check it out because it'll make more sense. Check out the last two if you haven't. So the one with Danielle Laura, where we're talking about divine energy, stepping into your divine feminine, stepping into your divine masculine, and then honoring your needs. And then this one, like these are three that binge back to back, get some wine, get some tea, get some popcorn, ice cream, whatever snacks you need, and like really let this set in, really let this set in. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of layers and there's a lot at play. I do think that it's harder for women because the older that we get, the less men that are available. And, you know, or you run into a bunch of like divorced men. But for men, they get older, but then they can just start dating younger women. As long as they have money, they can always get younger women. So it is a little more challenging for women, unfortunately, but that's why we have to do the work and start immediately. Like, don't wait, start today. Like, what do I need to release? What programming do I need to let go of and adapt a new paradigm that is serving me? So let's dive deeper into this. Like, how do we break the cycle? And Kevin Kevin says low value women are difficult, use shame, guilt, manipulation, and sometimes are even violent. So I don't really like his approach, but when he was describing how women are, or some of the women that come onto the show, some of the things that he said is exactly how I was raised and what I saw growing up, using shame, making the man feel less than, making the man feel like he ate shit. No high value man is going to allow a woman to make him feel like shit. They're just not. But we're taught how to do that. We're taught, like, when I say taught, we see it as young girls, and then when we grow into women, we think this is how it's supposed to be, giving them the guilt, shame, or using manipulation to get what we want, rather than tapping into our divine feminine. Because when we are in our divine feminine, men want to give us everything we want. They want to have their queen and worship her as a queen. So submitting doesn't mean you're a submissive woman and you're basically like his slave. No, it means that you are allowing him to be the king, and he is allowing you to be the queen. The king takes care of the queen. And that's, to me, what it means to submit. Now, don't get me wrong. If you would have said this to me, let's say 5 years ago, I would have been like, what? What? But I've done the work. I've done the work. I'm still doing the work because the work never ends, but understanding where we have resistance, understanding where we have blocks, understanding where we have pre-programming that's not actually ours. I mentioned this in the last episode when I admitted to myself that I don't want to actually work. Like, I want my husband to take care of me. And I just want to do my business. I love business. I just want to do my business because I love it and not because I have to work. I don't want to hold the weight of the empire. Like, could I build an empire? I pretty much have a little bit of an empire. It's a little bit. It's growing. It's like a little plant baby, you know. But I don't want to have to provide for everything. I don't. I want to be a team with someone where we establish, you handle this and I handle this. And we're a team. I don't want to do it all on my own. And do you know, that was so extremely hard for me to admit. So extremely hard for me to admit because it went against everything that I was taught growing up. Never depends on a man, always have your own. That is not wife material. It's not wife material. When you are taught that and when you believe that and that's your programming, it is not wife material, period. And for women who believe that and still end up married, either they're not happy, they're settling, or it's not going to last. So these are things that we're taught that's actually working against us in having the relationship and marriage that we truly desire. Okay, let me get back to the notes. So basically, Kevin says a low value woman is someone who's difficult, uses shame, guilt, manipulation, and is sometimes violent. Like he brought a woman on that asked her what she did, how did she react when, you know, her and her boyfriend, like whatever the situation was, she threw his phone at him. And so so it's like, you know, this type of behavior, when you talk about a high value man, now he attaches high value men to men that are making 6 and 7 figures. It's not just about the money. I'm going to get into a little bit later 10 qualities or 10 traits of a high value man, because there's a lot of men that's making a lot of money that I would not consider a high value man. So specifically, a high value man is not going to allow a woman to treat him like that. Like, he's not. So really being self-aware of how, and vice versa, a high value woman would also not allow a man to be that way as well. So it goes both ways. I'm specifically saying men just because I'm a woman and I date men. So it goes both ways. So it's not this like double standard where I'm only talking to women and I'm saying women need to do the work. Men need to do the work too. Just want to point that out so no one is misunderstanding what I'm saying. So basically, what women tend to say is, when I get a high value man, I won't act this way or do these things. When I get a high value man, then I'll submit. But this keeps us in a hamster wheel. This keeps us in a hamster wheel because the reality is a high value man doesn't want a woman who would be that way. So you're not going to get a high value man until you understand some of these things and release the pre-programming and the blocks, because the high value man is not going to tolerate it. So what happens is, and this is me too, okay? So what happens is a woman will date someone that's close to what they want, as close as possible as they can find, and then think that with some grooming, they can turn them into the high value man. And let me just tell you, usually this does not work. It does not work. And I'm saying this from experience because trust me, I've tried it. I've tried it so many times. And let me tell you what happens. The man feels like you're trying to change him. So he shuts down. And then the woman ends up disappointed because the man is not stepping up. And then she ends up criticizing him and he ends up resenting her. And then they both end up resenting each other. Relationship over. Or they're just miserable and they're stuck together because they don't want to be alone. But this is a vicious cycle that literally happens over and over and over and over again. There's so many couples that are full of resentment, and resentment is toxic. Okay. Resentment is toxic. You have no idea how much like blockages it causes in your body that eventually turn into illness. All right. So just from like a pure health standpoint, resentment is toxic to your body. So I know the root because I'm a woman and I've been in this situation and I've experienced this and I've been in this pattern. Typically it's because women don't feel valued. And that's what causes her to resent the man. She doesn't feel valued when he doesn't do a thing or do it the way she wants. She automatically feels he doesn't respect me, he doesn't value me, he doesn't love me. And that causes her to resent him. And then she starts criticizing him. And then he shuts down and he starts resenting her. So when she's not happy, she makes him feel less than a man. And then no one's happy because everyone's coming from broken places and they don't have the awareness around how to communicate, how to work through these in a healthy manner, and how to fulfill their roles in the relationship. Now, we do live in a time in society where you can decide what the roles are. You can decide what the roles are. So submit doesn't mean you have to be home cooking and cleaning all day. Doesn't mean that. It means that you allow him to protect and provide and be the authority in the relationship. But part of that authority is coming together because it doesn't mean there's a lack of respect. So he doesn't respect your opinion. That's not what submit means. It's not what it means. It means that you two come together and he handles things so you don't even have to, but you come together and decide what works best for you two. So what does submit look like? How your specific man, how can you make him feel like a man? Every man is different. There is no right or wrong here. There is no black or white. Let me tell you how to make your man feel like a man. Every single man is different, but every single man wants to feel like a man. And however that looks for them, because like, I'll give you an example. So my last partner, he enjoyed to cook. So he didn't necessarily want me to submit in a way of like, I'm cooking every night. He enjoys to cook, but he doesn't enjoy washing dishes. So me submitting is just being like, you know what? I'm going to clean the kitchen. Like, that's it. Like, simple. Okay. I say simple, but you have no idea like how much like stress it took to get to that point to even realize that. But it's we get caught up in our feelings and then it's validated by our programming and then it causes problems rather than sitting down and figuring out what works. Rather than me being like, oh, he's lazy and blah, blah, blah. And then me criticizing him and then him shutting down and him resenting me and I'm resenting him. And then we're both miserable. So that's the pattern. But because I've done the inner work, I've received therapy and coaching and all kind of things. I know how to navigate the situations in a healthy manner. I'm not perfect. We weren't perfect, but it's not something that I was ever taught. I wasn't taught this growing up. I didn't have an example of this growing up. So let me get back to my notes. Okay. We weren't taught healthy communication. So I had to go and get a coach and I had to research emotional intelligence to understand what healthy communication looks like. I had to learn to listen. And let me just tell you, the average, and I'm going to say this and no offense to anyone, but the average, like typical stereotypical angry Black woman does not listen. And I'm Black and my mom is okay. typical, stereotypical angry Black woman. So I'm not saying this in a demeaning way. My mom did what she had to do, and she lived her life the best way that she knew how, because it was programming from my grandma and then programming from my great grandma. So, and I've been fortunate because everyone had babies young. Besides me, I don't have any children yet. Everyone had children young, so I was able to meet my grandmother and my great grandmother. I was raised most of my life with my great grandmother. So very fortunate, because a lot of people don't have an opportunity to have their great grandmothers in their lives for as long as I did. So I met my great grandmother, and she was a sassy Black woman, and you don't tell her nothing, okay? And I love my grandmother to death, my grandmother and my great grandmother. But they both passed being single. And honestly, I mean, my grandmother dated because she was like, she was a little pimp. Oh my goodness, let me stay focused. But no, I'm laughing, but I'm really being serious. Like, listening is a huge component in a relationship. And unfortunately, Black women are not taught or programmed to listen. We're taught to be sassy, and you can be sassy. So I'm always going to be sassy, and I've learned how to listen. I've learned how to communicate, but I'm still going to have my moments because it's in me and I'm proud of who I am. So I can be sassy and I can put on my Beyonce and be like, Queen Bee, and I can still love and nurture and respect and listen to my man. Woo, I just got chills. All right, let me get back to the notes. So the thing is, we have to end the vicious cycles. If we want true love and we want fulfillment and we want that partner to provide and protect and like love us and put us on that like queen, like you are my queen, this is my king. These are things we have to learn how to navigate communication and really breaking that generational pattern of not listening and not trusting. And we're gonna get to something else that Kevin said that I actually agree with. His delivery could be a little more gentle, but it has a lot of value. So basically, if women don't have that healthy example and they continue to repeat these patterns, either they end up in a relationship where they're settling, or they just decide to be single. And then they blame it on like, oh, there's no good men out there. And you have no idea how much of my life I just was like, men suck, because that's what I was programmed to believe. Men suck. But I'm like, there are amazing men out there. And there are a lot of high value men out there. So Kevin says, if they're making 6-7 figures, they're like like 10% of the men. So he makes it seem as though there's not many, it's scarce, ladies, so be on your best behavior. But like I said, I don't agree with his delivery, but I do think that there's a lot of validity to some of the things that he says. So I believe there are great men out there, and they're available and they're ready to settle down. But if you pick the ones that are not exactly what you want, they're close enough because you don't want to wait for the one, then you can't be disappointed when they don't turn out to be what you want. Because I fall into this pattern. So I'm saying we genuinely find someone that's just like almost there. And we think we can like tweak and groom and love him into what we want him to be. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, because the second a man feels like you're trying to change him, he shuts down and he resents you. Like, he has to want it for him. So what Kevin says that I do agree with is, you pick poorly, then blame the product. This is where we have to take responsibility for our decisions. We can't get someone that we think is almost what we want and then think that a little grooming, but then when we realize we can't change them, then we're disappointed. So again, it's not our fault because we weren't taught. Like, if you didn't have a good father in your life, you weren't taught how to pick a good man. So I'm not blaming any of the women for this. It's not our fault, but it is our responsibility to learn, grow, and do better. So my biological dad wasn't in my life, and my stepdad and mom, my sister's father, he divorced my mom and then married a white woman who just, I posted on Facebook about the whole submit thing, who said, "Oh yeah, like I submit to my man, like we're a partnership, we're a team." And so I know that that probably makes some women's blood boil, and I know that this is probably triggering and frustrating and all the things, but the reality is no successful man that works hard and values himself is going to want to deal with a difficult woman that shames him and guilts him and makes him feel less than a man. No man is going to want that. And same thing, men to the women. No woman is going to want a man that makes her feel unappreciated. So it's not just about, this goes both ways, but I can speak on the women part because I'm a woman. So constantly complaining and someone who isn't prioritizing home. And this is something I actually was talking to Danielle. So definitely check out the episode with her. I was talking to her about this because a lot of men are saying like they want successful women. And I think that the same way that women get almost what they want and then try to groom him for that last little bit, I think men do the same. They get a woman that's almost what they want because she's successful and she's hot and blah, blah, blah. But then they try to groom her to be what they want, as in like getting her to submit or stay home when, like, hello, she has a career. So, like, you knew this going in. Why are you trying to get her to now be home cooking and cleaning and like making your lunch or something like that, you know? So it definitely goes both ways, but you cannot change a person. But here's one thing that I realized is the important thing is a woman prioritizing home. And I believe this, and I'm not old fashioned. Like, this is just like, this is what I feel. This is what I feel in my core, not what I was taught, not what society says. I believe a woman should prioritize home. So I used to think I would never give up my career for a man. Like, my business came first. Period. Period. My business came first. That was my priority. That's also why I've been single all those years, you know? So like, the second that I was like, you know what, I really want a family. So it's time for me to like put like dating and relationships first if I want a family. And that's when I wind up being in relationships. But when I put business first, I was single because home has to come first. And here is the powerful thing. A lot of women feel like, I'm not going to give up this for this. But when you put home first and you have a solid home life and a solid relationship that's supportive and healthy, you show up so much better for business. Period. Period. Now, yeah, you may have to take a year or two to like take care of the kids until they're old enough for like nanny, daycare, whatever. But when home is solid, and your relationship is solid, you glow. You have a high frequency that's vibrating. So love is the highest frequency. Love is actually, let me look at my chart. Okay, enlightenment is the highest frequency, and then like love is couple like right under there. But love is one of the highest frequency. So if home and your relationship is good, you're gonna 10 times your money. You're gonna vibrate so high that the money, the clients, all the things are going to come to you. Take care of home first. Now, this is something I just like, I said on the episode with Danielle that I had an epiphany. Like I legit had an epiphany, and it's the sound bowls. So the sound bowls, I'm doing the sound bowls multiple sessions a day, and it's literally peeling the layers back and really helping me get to like the core of who I am, my soul being, without the programming, without what my mom taught me, without what society says. And so this is a realization that literally was downloaded to me. This isn't something that like I heard. I feel women should take care of home first. And I think that if you're with a high value man, he's also going to prioritize home. Providing and protecting is going to be his number one. And the woman should feel home is number one as well. And then when that happens, they show up in the world so much more vibrant that they're a magnet to the abundance. They're a magnet to success. And okay, let me get back to my notes. Look, you guys, I am so worked up, but I hope you're following me. Are you still following me? Do you need to pause the video, take a little potty break, refill your wine, refill your tea, whatever you have to do? So, okay. Here's another thing that I realized, and this is a mistake that I've made in dating, right? In my opinion, where the independent and successful women, like they go on dates and they're spewing off all their accomplishments. And so Kevin does this thing, like he has a little thing in the background that says, I have a PhD, or I'm a PhD, or whatever. So basically women are like, I have a degree, I own this business, I do this, I make 6 figures, or I make 7 figures, whatever it is. So when you are spewing off your accomplishments, what the man is hearing is, she doesn't have time for me. She doesn't have time for me. A high value man that, has an empire, he's hearing, she doesn't have time for me. She doesn't have time to take care, like nurture this relationship or home. So let me be very clear. By no means whatsoever am I saying tone yourself down. By no means. By no means. Like, own and celebrate who you are. However, when you're dating, what I am saying is lead with connection. Prioritize the connection, because that is what the relationship is about, not establishing dominance or who's more successful or the fact that you are successful. Lead with the connection. And then when you're connected and you're making each other feel good, and he realizes, oh, and she's smart too, he is literally going to feel like the luckiest man on the planet. But if you're like, oh, I got this degree and I make this amount of money and I've done this and I've traveled here, and trust me, I used to do this because I was like, I need him to know up front so he's not intimidated later. I was that woman. So this is not about making anyone feel bad or calling anyone out or slapping anyone on the wrist, because I've been there. I did it. I used to be like, I traveled to Paris and Tahiti and here, and I started this business and I started that business. And the man was just sitting there like, okay, so like, do you even have time to date? Like, do you like, thanks for penciling me in. And the thing about it is like, all of your accomplishments is valid, and celebrate you and own who you are. But when you date, the date is about connection and getting to know each other on a deeper level. And then when they find out you're successful and smart too, they are going to lose their minds. But if you don't lead with the connection and establish the connection first, and you're just like, oh, I did this and I did this, it's like establishing your dominance and your independence right away. And so you're not creating room for the connection. So prioritize the connection, and then he'll celebrate you. I mean, a man that truly loves a woman wants to show her off and is proud to be with her, but she has to be proud to be with him. If you're not proud to be with who you're with, maybe you're not with the right person. Now, obviously, I'm not saying go break up or leave them. There's always work that can be done. So no one's ever broke this down for me this way. And it literally is just the layers being peeled away because of sound healing. So definitely book a session with me so you could have some of these layers peel away too. Shameless plug, but no, seriously, like I literally had these realizations. It was this epiphany that hit me, and like all of these downloads of like, this is what I've been doing wrong all these years. Like I've been in this vicious cycle for so many years, and I've worked with different coaches and therapists that just every coach or therapist helped me peel another layer back. But the layers literally, when I started sound therapy, just started like falling away. And I've been on this path of just like healing and growing and expanding. And one powerful thing that I want you to start to implement in your own life, and this is really popular in the healing community, is as you're noticing the triggers and the blocks and the limiting beliefs and the negative pre-programming, ask yourself, is this mine? Is this mine? Because so often it's not. It's the generations before us and our ancestors. So, and same thing with men. Like men also have limiting beliefs and blocks around women, but they have to do their work. I'm specifically sharing from my perspective as a woman. So, same thing. If a man wants an attractive woman that's fit and nurturing and loving and prioritizes home and smart and all the things, they have to do the work to make sure that they're making her feel valued and loved and appreciated. So let's talk about quickly what a beta and alpha man is, because I know that the conversation with Danielle Laura, I said my epiphany came and I realized that I'm an alpha woman and I typically date beta men. But what I realize is I date the beta men and I try to turn them into alpha men. And when they don't, I'm disappointed. And then they're resentful because they feel I'm trying to change them. So let's actually break down what a beta man is. So basically, someone who is passive and okay with others making the decision. Now, why beta men have been appealing to alpha women is because they tend to be really sweet and nurturing and attentive, and they'll do all of the little things, and they're more available. Sometimes alpha men are just, they're not as available because they're maintaining their empire and they prioritize providing and protecting home. They're providing for their family, and they're protecting their empire as well as their home. So usually they're not as available. So the beta men tend to be more available. Now, the bad thing about beta men is that they don't take action as much. And that's what eventually creates the disconnect with the alpha woman. They want someone that's taking action. So they want someone that's available during the dating process, but then like once you're in the relationship, they want you to step it up. And then when you don't step it up, then they're disappointed in you. And because they're disappointed, then you feel even less than a man. And like it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. And I've come to the conclusion that there isn't really a such thing as a beta man. It's just a man who hasn't fully stepped into his power. He's not in his divine masculine. And I also came to the conclusion that there's nothing that I can do about it. There's nothing that you as a woman can do about it. He has to decide to step into his power. He has to make the choice for himself to step into his power. The more you try to force or even encourage him, he's going to shut down and resent you. If he's ready, then he's going to welcome it and he's going to do the work on his own. He has to want it and then have a woman that supports and holds space for it. But if the woman tries to encourage it or even force it, done deal. It is a done deal. Like, say goodbye to the relationship unless you actively work through this. When you find yourself doing this, catch it. get help, someone who can see it from the outside looking in, because sometimes we're so close to it and we're so caught up in our feelings that we don't even see it until it's too late and you two resent each other and you're no longer happy together. So we weren't taught that. We weren't taught that growing up. We weren't taught how to communicate. We weren't taught how to identify what we have going on. We weren't taught how to listen. So I had to do a lot of inner work. I had to, like I said, coaching, therapy, all the things. So I'm like, I really need this alpha man to come and marry me and provide so I can get a return on my investment. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm serious. Like, I'm joking. I have to add a little humor in there. So, okay, let's dive into exactly what an alpha man is. So we talked about a beta man. So what is an alpha man? So someone that's a leader, someone who has authority, someone honest, someone dependable and has courage. They're determined to protect and provide. So basically, Kevin uses the term high value men. So I have 10 ways to identify a high value man and a high value woman.
If you were looking for a sign, here it is. This is your reminder to not settle, to know your worth, and to follow your bliss. This is a reminder to maintain alignment and show up in your fullest expression. Abundant and Aligned Society is an accountability program to remind you that you are a powerful being and you deserve to live the life you truly desire. Go to niajae.com/society to join in on the magic, because life is meant to be abundant.
So 10 traits or characteristics of a high value man and woman. But before I go into it, there is a fine line between an alpha man and a man who is exuding toxic masculinity. So it's not about control, it's about respect, it's about teamwork, and it's about the man having, like, being the man of the house and providing and taking care of home. So it doesn't mean that a woman can't have a career or can't have an opinion or can't say anything. It's that they've established what you're good at, you take care of that. What I'm good at, I take care of this. And you're a team, not opponents. You're not like going against each other. You're coming together to make it work together. So allowing him to take the lead. And if you don't trust him to take the lead, then you shouldn't be with him. So let's take like some power couples, like famous power couples. And the one that comes to mind the most is Elena Cardone and Grant Cardone. So Grant Cardone wrote 10X. He does the 10X Growth Con like business conference. So Elena Cardone is very much so an alpha woman. Like, she is an alpha woman. And how she explained it, because I've been to a 10X Growth Con, how she explains it is, he takes care of this. And when he makes a decision, I don't question him because this is what he takes care of. I take care of this, which is home. Like, she takes care of the kids and she makes decisions around the house. He makes decisions in the business and the empire. So she said he doesn't question me about this. And she doesn't bring him little stuff, like she's not complaining to him about dishes and blah, 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 because she knows that he has bigger things that he has to take care of to be able to provide the luxurious lifestyle that they have. So she doesn't bring him little stuff about whatever. She takes care of that. So he has his role, she has her role. And she still has a career. She has a thriving career, but she prioritizes home. And he loves her for that. She makes sure that he's good. When he comes home from a business meeting or travel or whatever, she makes sure he's good. He also makes sure she's good. She has the Louboutins and the luxury vacations and the gorgeous penthouse condo, whatever. So it's not about submitting and giving up power or control. It's allowing the man to provide, allowing the man to be the man of the house and handle things. And when I say, I'm speaking to women, because I know men and women listen, but also you prioritizing home and handling what you're going to handle. And it doesn't mean you can't have a career. You can have a career, but it requires balance, and balance requires teamwork. And if you don't have that teamwork, it's going to be a hot mess. Does that make sense? I love to hear your feedback. Definitely message me and let me know how this is landing. And this took a lot for me to come to these realizations, have these epiphanies, and even be able to admit it. I admitted it via journaling first. And then I said it out loud, and it was like, it took me a while. It took me a while to be able to journal it. And journaling is the best way to self-discovery. So I journaled it first. And then when I actually said it out loud, it felt so crazy saying it out loud that, like, yeah, I want a man to take care of me. Like, I don't want to have to work. I love business. And I say that because I probably will never just be like a stay-at-home wife, because I love business and I love sound therapy and I'm going to want to take clients, but I don't want to have to. I want my man to be like, I got this. You good? Do what you love. That's the ideal situation for me. Do what you love. And that's it. And I'm going to do sound therapy and still, do my thing because I love business. So it took a while for me to be able to admit that, because of the programming, because of society saying women should be independent and, I am woman, hear me roar. I am woman, hear me roar. And in my divine feminine, I'm saying that, like, I am ready for my king. I am ready to submit. Oh my God. I know women are like, somebody's blood is boiling. I already know. But I am ready for him to honor me as his queen. And if he doesn't honor me as his queen, then, it's not the right person for me. So if you don't feel valued and respected, then are you with a high value man that is honoring you as a high value woman? All right, let's get into what high value even means. Okay, so Kevin uses this term, high value man, high value women. So I have 10 ways, because I'm like, okay, what does that even mean? I like to break it down. So 10 ways or 10 traits of a high value man. Number one, he fully commits and gets it done. This is important. Follow through. Okay. So if you're out here listening and you're like, okay, would I be categorized as a beta man? What will it take for me to be a alpha and a high value man? Number one, fully commit, get it done, follow through. Follow through is so important. Number two is he has courage. He knows what he wants and he goes after it. Courage is important. So if you're like, I don't know, like, no. And a high value man knows what he wants and he goes after it. He doesn't stop until he gets it. Period. End of story. Number three is he's assertive. He puts forth effort into everything he does, business, providing for his woman, loving his woman. He is assertive. He gets it done. He has follow through and he has courage. All these things, so important. This is a high value man. So for me, it's not necessarily about how much money he's making. If he makes 6 figures, okay. If he makes 7 figures, great. If he makes 8 figures, oh girl, he probably ain't single. No, I'm joking. Yes, I laugh at my own jokes. Number 4 is he's self-aware. He's done the self-development. So he's aware of who he is and what he brings to the table. Like, self-development is important for me. Like, I cannot date anyone that hasn't explored self-development, because they probably don't know who they are. They don't understand their strengths and weaknesses. And we'll get to women. It's important for women as well. Just people. I think people should do some form of self-development to really understand who they are, what they bring to the table, what they value, what their level of integrity is. Like, this all comes through self-development. Number 5 is he takes pride in himself and his appearance. You know, if he's kind of like a slob and he doesn't care about how he looks, he doesn't care about how his house looks, like, to me, that's not a high value man. Number 6 is he's emotionally intelligent. An emotionally unavailable man is not a high value man. If he's emotionally unavailable for you, don't date him. Simple. Like, ladies, like, let's just simplify this. If he is emotionally unavailable, don't date him. Don't sleep with him, because then you start liking a D. No, don't do it. Move on. Number 7 is he has purpose. He has purpose. So important. Number 8 is he has a growth mindset. So he's always looking to get better. Number 9 is he takes responsibility. Like, that is so important. He takes responsibility. Number 10 is he's respectful. So there's a lot of, this is why I say that for me, the high value man isn't determined upon how much money they make. Just because they make 6 or 7 figures or 8 figures, whatever, does not mean that they are a high value man. He has to be respectful, because no woman should tolerate being disrespected, but also getting really clear of what disrespectful even means to you. Because I know that I was raised by a mom that's very hot tempered, and you look at her wrong and she can get upset. Like, so really, really defining what respect means to you and what's your deal breakers. Getting clear, the clearer we are on what we want and what we're willing to accept and not accept is so important. All right. So I'm going to speed this up because I know this podcast episode is long. So 10 traits of a high value woman. Number 1 is she's self-aware. She's done the self-development. Like I said, self-development is so important. So understanding yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the light and the shadow. Number 2 is she knows her worth. For women, self-worth is so drastically important. So important. Number 3 is she's compassionate and nurturing. She's compassionate and nurturing. Women have to be in your divine feminine, you have to be compassionate and nurturing and empathic and soft and all of those things. So number 4, she communicates well. And part of communicating is listening. Number 5 is she's smart. Like, I know that society will tell you that men don't want smart women. It's bullcrap. So they do want smart women. Period. Number 6 is she's emotionally stable. Now, that's a huge one. And it's not saying suppress your emotions, deny your emotions, or don't have emotions. It's saying that she knows how to manage and navigate her emotions. So I'm very emotional, very, but I know how to manage and navigate them. So I'm not flying off the handle and acting out. I know how to manage my emotions, and not by suppressing them, dealing with them in a healthy manner. Number 7 is she's passionate. Number 8 is she prioritizes home. I feel this is important. Number 9 is she prioritizes self-care. So when I say prioritize home, that doesn't mean ignore your needs. You have to prioritize your own self-care. You can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to take care of you first. So prioritizing your own personal self-care and prioritizing home. And it's a balancing act. It's a juggling act. Like, life is all about balance. And number 10 is she's in her divine feminine. So she's soft, she's classy, she's vulnerable, she's comfortable with her sexuality, sensuality. There is so much power in your feminine energy. And she allows herself to be vulnerable. A lot of people feel that vulnerability is weak. And as Brene Brown has told the world, it doesn't mean you're weak. There's so much power in vulnerability. So women who allow themselves to be vulnerable and really be in their feminine energy, a man will literally melt. But there's so much, like, women are so independent. Like, I feel like it's really distorted. Like, men are just like, I feel like men don't even know what they want as much anymore, because now they're like, yeah, I want a successful woman, because they just, it's all discombobulated. It's all discombobulated. when a woman is in her divine feminine and she is soft and sexy and confident and just full of passion, a man will literally melt. Melt. That's it. Okay. So I know that there are some women who are just like, well, step it up and I'll submit to, you know, a high value man, but I do think that so many of us are programmed to be disappointed. We subconsciously expect it. We expect the man to drop the ball. We expect the man to disappoint us, especially for women who weren't raised with a dad, or a dad that was around, or a dad that really nurtured, their mom and their household. So we have that stored in our subconscious. We have it stored in our body, and it's contributing to what we're attracting. And we can't expect a man to step up and protect and provide if we're belittling him or shaming him or guilting him. And the same thing with men wanting women to step into her divine feminine. She has to feel safe. She has to feel safe because you have stepped up to protect and provide. So this is all about doing a work. This is all about doing a work, releasing the negative pre-programming that is no longer serving, the outdated beliefs that are no longer serving. This is getting off the hamster wheel, out of the vicious cycles, and really stepping into our power. So every man that's listening, every woman that's listening, truly stepping into the best version of yourself. And the person that you're meant to spend the rest of your life with will be drawn to you when you choose for you to be the best version of yourself. And so I know that this is a really deep topic, and this is why, 3 episodes later I'm still talking about it, because it's every time I dive a little deeper, more and more is being revealed to me, peeling the layers back. And if you're in a relationship, I would recommend, like, if you're like, okay, I'm not saying like leave. I would recommend doing some of this work and do the work together and be open and vulnerable and honest with each other, and get the help of someone that can help you navigate some of these, like working with someone that believes in undoing the programming that is actually causing the blocks, and there's so much crappy dating advice out there. So definitely be aware of that. And just to be clear, I'm not giving dating advice. I'm saying we all, men, women, trans, we all have to do the work. We have to heal, we have to grow, we have to expand. That is what we are here for in this time, space, and reality. And while we're here doing the work, we're meant to enjoy. We're meant to enjoy. And the best feeling in the world is love. The best feeling in the world. Because think about success. Why do you want to be successful? So you can enjoy life the way you want to live, the lifestyle that you desire, with the people you love. Everything we do is for love. Everything is to return to love. So holding on to the pre-programming and the disappointment and the pain and the hurt, that is being stored in our body, stored in our chakras, and it's our responsibility to release it, so we can step into our divine energy, so we can step into our sovereignty, so we can step into our power, and then have our king or queen by our side. That is what I want for you. That is what I want for me. That's what I want for everyone. All right, M&Ms, I am done. Thank you for sticking with me. If you're still listening, thank you for sticking with me. I hope you found value in this. I would love, love, love to know how you feel. How did this land? Men, women, reach out to me. You can email me at contact@niajae.com, or you can send me a DM, slide up in my DM on Instagram at Niajae, Niajae. And I hope that you really found value in this. And if you are interested in any chakra coaching, like I said, I don't give dating advice, but I help people uncover what's going on inside, what's stored in your body, what's stored in your chakras, using the chakra system, using sound therapy. So if you're interested in working with me to uncover what could be holding you back from the abundant life that you desire, definitely reach out to me. Until next time, be decadent.
Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.